everyone. It looks like it's time to get started. 12 noon on the dot. I am glad that you are joining me. Nice warm day today. Seems like, well, it is such a change from what it was 2 weeks ago. We live in Montana, but even for Montana, it's a little extreme to go from 28 to 90 in the course of 2 weeks. So I hope you're all holding up well with the changes in the weather. So today we are going to talk about problem solving. And in my head, I kind of think of this as part 2 of what we started last week with the trusting yourself. So part of trusting yourself is knowing that you can solve problems. So we're going to do some quote unquote hands-on activities today as far as problem solving goes, give you a little practice with that. But before we get started with that, we got a Calvin to get us started. And he and Hobbs are having their thoughtful time on the wagon. They do it on the wagon or on the sled a lot. But Calvin says, do you believe in fate? And Hobbs says, you mean that our lives are predestined? And Calvin says, yeah, that the things we do are inevitable. And Hobbs says, what a scary thought. Of course, they're like driving off the edge of a dock into a lake, it looks like. So kind of thoughtful time for you to think about, is your life predestined to be exactly how it is? Or are there changes that you can make and you can change your direction at any given time? It's just whether you will. So again, with the Calvin, we're going to think about what we talked about last time with the glass of water. And just wondering if you've set your glass of water down yet today. In other words, have you given yourself a little break from everything? Have you found a quiet place that you can relax your brain? Hopefully you've done that. And if not, then see if you can find time to do that during the day. So Hobbs is resting under the tree and Calvin comes and says, what you doing? He says, nothing at all. Nope. And Calvin says, I'll help. And Hobbs says, please do. So hopefully, at least for the next hour, you can turn your brain off a little bit. And if not, find a friend later today and turn your brain off with them for a little while. Do nothing for a little bit. I just love Calvin and Hobbs. So let's take a moment to reflect on your week. If you haven't done this already, how did it go last week? And maybe more importantly, at this point, how are things going toward your overall goals? If you've taken your weight this week, then go ahead and put that onto your weight chart. Hopefully you're getting a nice downward trend like the picture I put on there for you. If that is what you are aiming for as far as the Healthy for Life program, I know not everyone is trying to lose weight, but I think a lot of you are. So just take a little time to reflect on how things are going towards your overall goal, what you were able to accomplish in the last week. If there's any notes for your future self you'd like to write down. And as you're doing that, maybe think about our topic last week, which was trusting yourself and knowing that you have the ability to make the decisions that you want to make and to do what you want to do. Were there any times in the last week that you got to trust yourself in making decisions? And trusting yourself with making the decision in and of itself indicates that there was thought process that went into the decision that you were making. So hopefully you did get the chance to trust yourself with a decision to say, yeah, I'm going to do this. We had a long weekend and events that went along with it a lot of the time that were out of the ordinary. So it's a really good opportunity to reflect on those and say, what's happening with that? And were there any challenges or successes? Anything like that. If you want to share with the group, then please feel free to type it in the chat box, of course, now or anytime during the presentation. Like I've mentioned before, it really makes a difference, your interaction during this in the quality of the experience, both now and for people who will be doing this program in the future. So please feel free to type it in there. And if you're a kind of person like me, where I'm like, nobody will be interested in that, that's not something I should share. If you think that, but there is something, then please type it in, because chances are, if it's interesting to you, it's going to be interesting to someone else. And I know some of you are the kind of people where you're like, oh, I don't want to put myself forward or whatever, but I encourage you to do that. This is a good, safe place to do that, to share successes or challenges so that we can support you in those. So hopefully my rambling gave you some time to do that reflection. So let's just take a quick review, since this is essentially part 2 of what we did last week. Let's review what we did last week. So you remember, in all of those different circumstances, in your home, eating out, at work, special events, all of those things, these 4 things were what you needed to do in order to succeed. Plan ahead, ask for what you want, take charge of your environment, and choose foods carefully. You remember those 4 things? We repeated them over and over again during the last session. And these are really tangible tools that you can use from now until forever to meet challenges. Plan ahead, ask for what you want, take charge of your environment, and choose foods carefully. So what is problem solving? I really like this picture, because this, in many ways, is a great visual representation of what problem solving is like. It's like a maze, isn't it? So you might try going this way, you might try going that way. Maybe this way works, but that way didn't. But you got to, kind of try things as you go along until you figure out how to get to where you're going. And I would even venture to say that life just continues kind of like a maze. It's not necessarily you get from there to there and then you're done. It kind of continues as a maze. But that's kind of what problem solving is about, is making an educated guess and trying it, seeing how it works, and then trying something else to try and get you there. I have a note in here. I spent time with extended family with lots of normal picnic foods. It was hard to try and keep portions down and not eat all the fun foods. So I did eat them, but kept portions down and tried to exercise, and it seemed to work. Great job. That's awesome. And that, just what you've written right there, Colleen, that says that you've taken the time, that you took the time to put the thought process into it. Just like the slide that we just looked at, I would venture to say there was some of this happening during that event, the planning ahead, asking for what you want. Certainly the choosing foods carefully was happening. So great job. Did you do that on purpose, or did you know? Were you just like unconsciously doing those things? Because when you start to look at it, it definitely makes sense. Those four items, it makes sense. So let's start to look at problems. And these are examples of common areas where folks that are going through the kind of journey that we are going through together, these are problems that people can run into. So let's explore this, and I want you to think about which one of these 4 examples would be the most difficult one for you. So first is your family's celebrating holiday, some sort of special event. There's plenty of everyone's favorite foods. Your family's custom is to take it easy, have fun, and relax. Okay, so that's situation number 1. You're at home watching a favorite TV program. You're feeling okay, pretty relaxed, a little bored. A commercial comes on. You find yourself wandering into the kitchen. So that's situation number 2. Number 3, you're settling down at home after a long day. Someone starts to talk about something that's an ongoing argument. You both get angry. The other person leaves and you head for the kitchen. And then number 4, hypothetical situation is you're behind on a project at work. The boss is micromanaging you, constantly checking on your progress. You feel pressured and very tense. You go to get a cup of coffee and see a treat that someone's brought in this morning. So think about those 4 examples and choose which one that you feel like would be the most challenging for you. And again, this isn't something, if there's several on there that would be challenging for you, just think about the one that you'd like to focus on for the purposes of our example. Number 2, TV. TV seems popular in the chat. I had to keep it in mind, yeah. My putting my water down meant I didn't log my food, and I found I did not do a good job. It allowed me to see that even on previous days when I had more calories, quote unquote, bad days, I still did a better job stopping than when I didn't log. Yeah. So, and it, I would even say, not only was that giving your brain a chance to relax, I also would say that was problem solving to a certain extent, Caitlin, where you tried not tracking for a while to see how it would go. And what you found was that the tracking still was beneficial for you. So I think that's fabulous. Yes. And I think a lot of us are in that situation with the tracking right now. I don't think that you're alone with that. All right, so let's go back to our example problems. Number 2, number 1, number 3, number 1, number 2. Interesting. So kind of all over the place. Treats at work are so hard to leave alone. Yes, I totally agree. All right, so keep it in your mind which one you chose and what the problem was. So for me, it's going to be you're at home watching TV, because that's definitely my most challenging situation. Okay, so you've picked the situation is most challenging for you. And then start to think about, even if you have a piece of paper or your computer, or your phone or something, maybe just take a second just to jot down the sequence of events. So what happens? Was it, think about a time that it challenged you, and maybe you didn't succeed or do it as well as you would have liked to. And then just kind of write down, what's the sequence of events? Okay, so generally watching TV is in the evening for me. I'm not hungry, but all the food is around because I'm at home, and I'm not busy. And as I get closer to bedtime, I can convince myself sometimes that, yeah, I'm really hungry. I actually am really hungry. So I'll do that. Okay, so there's a sequence of events. Is it a common occurrence for you? For me, that is. Was it your emotional state? Was it social pressure to eat or forgo activity for work or family needs? So think about maybe what's driving that to be a challenge for you. For me, I think it's definitely the presence of problem foods and habit. I have a habit of having that snack, and then I usually have too much of it. Okay, so practice positive self-talk. So you remember this, we did this last time. So with this situation, imagine that you're in this hypothetical situation, and what kind of self-talk starts to happen to you during that situation? Is the good versus bad self-talk? This is bad. I'm eating this food right now and I don't need it, and I know I don't need it. And if that's the case, then talk back to it. How do you talk back to it? I don't expect perfection from myself. I'm working towards balance. I'm working towards doing better with this. Excuses. Oh, I do feel a little bit hungry and I have to get up. I have to get up early in the morning and I don't think I'll have time for breakfast. And so it's okay for me to do this. Just, stop, it's worth a try to see how it goes. I should. I should not be eating right now. Yeah, or should. It's my choice if I eat right now or if I don't. I'm not as good as the other people in my house because they seem to have no problem with just not eating anything after dinner. So, so then you say, stop. Everyone's different. Just because it's not a problem for them doesn't mean it's not a problem for me. And I should give up. Remember, number one, like most damaging self-talk is the give up self-talk. So think about, practice that positive self-talk in your head. So you're in that situation. Like for me, I'm thinking about it, or maybe I've already eaten something after dinner. I can have that positive self-talk. Okay, this is an area I know that is challenging me right now. And it's okay. I didn't do it exactly right tonight, but I'm working on balance. So it's worth a try not to eat right now. What could you learn from your slip if you were to have a slip? What could you learn from the situation that you don't do exactly perfect? Don't should on yourself. I like that. Don't should on yourself. Yeah, I agree. Habit historically have a giant bowl of popcorn when watching movies. Yeah, me too. It's so much just a habit, isn't it? Yes, and I do try and read all of the comments. I just don't read them constantly while I'm talking. Treats at work are so hard to leave alone, stressing. Okay, so I think I'm caught up. So what could you learn? This again, we're getting to the problem solving, right? So this is an issue for me. Whatever of those 4 issues you're kind of focusing on and that you're kind of following along with, what is it that you can learn each time you don't do it exactly right? And maybe it's different each time. Maybe just think about the last time it happened. What could you learn, or how can you navigate that better the next time? Can you stop that train earlier in the process? Like for me, if I have certain foods that I have a tendency to snack on, do I really need to buy those from the store and have them in the house? I mean, that's about as early in the process as I can think of. And then regain control. It makes a difference if you stop now. How many of you have had this conversation with yourself? Well, I've already eaten too much, so I should just keep eating, right? And it sounds crazy when you think about it, when you're not in that emotional state, but it's not. It's your brain. It's that putting down the glass of water. If you don't put it down sometimes, like on purpose, then your brain is going to put it down for you. Like your arm is just going to give out. And that's a situation, that's a great example of a situation where your willpower or want power just kind of gives out. You've been resisting all day and you've started to eat it. And then sometimes it's just like, you just go, right? So if you can, when you're having that thought process, you're probably not feeling great while you're eating that stuff. So if you can, just remember the self-talk of, it makes a difference if I stop now. It does make a difference if I stop now. You can try calling someone on the phone, talk to someone supportive. You can brainstorm with them, you can vent, you can troubleshoot. I have actually, there's actually a study that I found at one point that said doing yoga poses can really help, especially if you're dealing with cravings, not necessarily hunger, but cravings. So maybe trying a little down dog sometime. If you're dealing with that, and see if you can just bring your brain back from the edge, if you will. Bring it back from the edge of that. Yeah, it makes a difference if I stop now. I'm going to take a second and breathe, reset my thought process here. But talking to someone is a great thing to do. And remember what we talked about before, celebration plus appreciation equals motivation. So try and incorporate that as much as you can in your day. When you're in the midst of that situation, it's really hard to do that. But if you can do it in the midst of the celebration of the issue or the challenge time, the problem that you're trying to solve, if you will, see if you can bring some appreciation for you in there. I have been doing good up to this point, and stopping now does make a difference. So I'm going to do that kind of positive self-talk. Okay, so slips in this circumstance are what we're thinking of with these problem areas or your goal areas, if you will. So you've set a goal for yourself. Maybe my goal, because I know it's a problem area for me, is to not eat after dinner. Maybe that's a goal that I've made for myself because I know I'm not hungry. There's no reason I need to eat. So maybe my goal is to not eat after dinner, but maybe after a week, I slip up, right? I don't do it exactly right. Just remember that slips are normal and to be expected. You should expect that you will slip because none of us are perfect people. There is no such thing as a perfect person. As much as we'd like to think that we're perfect people, we are absolutely not. So expect that you will slip and be prepared for it. That's that positive self-talk that we're learning, right? So if negative self-talk is something that you struggle with, especially when you slip, where can you put the positive self-talk so that you can go get it and read it? Read it while you are, when your brain gets into that funk, that same, well-worn negative self-talk path. Maybe you can just pull out the piece of paper and look at that positive self-talk and, practice, keep doing it. Be a toddler again. This is one of my best examples. If you think about a toddler when they're learning to walk, they don't just get up and walk perfectly, do they? I mean, if you're me, I still don't walk perfectly. So think about being toddlers and how patient they are with themselves. They will try it again and again and again. If any of you have been blessed enough to watch a child learn how to walk, you know that it takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. And just think, if they gave up the first, second, fifth, 20th time they stood up and then fell down, would they ever have been able to walk? So try and put yourself in that mindset to know that it is a constant progression and that the slips, the falls are to be expected and that you just need to get up and try it again. And you'll get better and better at it the more that you do that. Use your problem solving. If there's places where you're slipping a lot, use the problem solving. We've talked about lots of different options for that. So make sure and keep that handy. Same as with the positive self-talk, you can print it out and you say, okay, what's a strategy for solving this problem? Plan ahead, choose foods wisely, ask for what you want, right? Okay, how can I apply that to this situation? That's problem solving. One of the most important things when it comes to setting goals for yourself and achieving those goals is, especially for those of you who are experienced, you've tried to accomplish this before and you've failed. I wouldn't say that you failed. I would say it's a slip. It might be a longer slip, but you're still back here doing this again. But as part of that process, a lot of the time we start to internalize and it starts to become a fear of failure with whatever the thing is that you're trying to do. So if that's you, if you're afraid of something, like I'm afraid I'm going to try this and I'm not going to lose any weight. Okay, write it down. Literally, this is one of those things where it really does make a difference to pick up your pen and write it down on the piece of paper. What are you afraid of? I'm afraid I'm never going to lose weight, right? Then think to yourself, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? Because up to this point, maybe you've been, to use this example, maybe you've been gaining weight. You've continued to gain weight, right? So the worst that can happen is that you would continue down that path, right? It would be where you were before. So, sometimes all it takes is taking that fear that kind of lives in the back of your brain and you don't really want to acknowledge it because it's not comfortable and I don't want to think about it, but it seems really scary and really big, like the monster that's under your bed when the light is off, right? Sometimes all you have to do is bring that fear out into the light, put it down on a piece of paper, talk with someone about it as many times as you need to, hypothetically bringing the fear out into the light, turning on the light so that you can see there's no monster under the bed, right? It was just that pile of clothes or whatever. Sometimes that's all it takes to really get your brain like, okay, I think maybe I can try this again. I think maybe I can do this again. So becoming an experienced life navigator requires slips. If you never slip, then you never get better. And I know we talked about this last time, and I know it's just one of those things that as much as we want to deny that it is the truth, the hard times that we go through in our life are the times where we grow the most and where we have the most potential to become a better version of us. So becoming an experienced life navigator, or a good life navigator, or a better life navigator, requires slips. It requires not doing it right. And in order to not do it right, you have to try. You have to try. You have to step outside your comfort zone. Here's a saying for you that Emily shared. We are only as sick as our secrets. So don't keep secrets, even if it's that fear in the back of your head or things that you do that nobody else knows about, but you do. We are only as sick as our secrets. I like that, Emily. And this is another comment. Over the past year, I've been logging my food, exercise, and weight. I've hit a plateau, but I have not gained. So I just focus on that and not on the fact that the numbers on the scale are no longer moving. Yes. And we have a webinar that we'll do on plateaus. I believe it's once we switch to monthly. But if you're at a plateau, you might want to jump forward to that. You know, they're all on the Healthy for Life page. You can jump forward to that and look at that. And if you want to call me or get in touch with a health coach at the health centers, remember that's an option for all of you as you go through this process, and see if you can talk through tweaking things, making things just a little bit different. I have worked through that with multiple health coaching members. It is totally common to hit a plateau and to have the plateau be just a short time. And it's also totally common for it to be a really long time too. So especially when you're on a plateau, that's when that give up kind of thought process comes in. And having someone that you can talk to and you can talk through that that challenge, and then continue to tweak things until you find something that's going to change is really important. So I'd really encourage you to do that. And I really appreciate you sharing, because I know there are multiple people on the call today that have similar experiences. So thank you for sharing that. So patterns are important. Patterns are how our brain enables us to do things without getting overwhelmed. So if you think of the stress of paying attention, it's the holding the glass, right? Constantly holding the glass. It's that constant stress. You do it for minutes, okay. Do it for an hour, your arm's going to hurt. Do it for a whole day, and you're really going to hurt something, if not break it. So your brain uses patterns, things that you do every single time, in order to allow itself to rest and allow it to rest. So if you think of, that's what I'm referring to when I talk about that groove, that rut in the road where you commonly think along, or you commonly operate along, or that thing you always do every day, right? That's the pattern. That's how your brain relieves the stress of paying attention constantly. Leaves your mind free to wander and de-stress. So anything that you can do that can help your brain establish a pattern can really help you to achieve your goals. So this is what a preparatory set is working towards, is helping your brain establish a pattern. The more you think about something, the more it's a pattern, and your brain doesn't have to work so hard to get through it. So a preparatory set is a mechanism our brain uses to sort the huge amount of input it gets all the time and keep it manageable. So you can actually program this mechanism. You can establish a pattern for your brain. So here are the steps to do that. Number one, write it down and make it clear. Your brain works best when it hears something, sees something, thinks about something, right? All of those things, speaks it. The more different ways that you can get that into your brain, the better you're going to be able to process it. So write it down, speak it out loud, make it clear. Visualize what it will actually look like to do it. And this will allow you to be more aware of certain events, opportunities, and people that can be helpful. Here's an example for you. It's not a weight management example, but I know a lot of you might relate to this, so it might help you get you going that direction. So when you do a preparatory set, when you're buying a car, so you go and you start looking at cars, right? And your brain says, okay, we are looking at cars. This is an important thing for me to pay attention to. Of all the stuff that I come across every day, we're looking at cars. That's what we're focusing on. So then as you're driving down the road, you'll notice, oh, I like that. That's a nice car, right? Whereas you might never have noticed that before. And then when you do buy the car, all of a sudden you'll notice that car is everywhere. I never noticed how many of this car there was, because your brain has established that preparatory set. It is looking for those things. It's looking for those opportunities. So this is an example of how it works. So you can imagine how that might work if you're looking for opportunities for exercise, if you're looking for opportunities for eating better, if you're looking for opportunities for taking a break during your day, if you're looking for ways to enable yourself to sleep better. You can see how a preparatory set might work the same direction, I hope. All right, so take a look at this picture and tell me what you notice first. Don't keep going. What did you notice first about this picture? That's all the time I'm going to give you. I don't want you to overanalyze it. So some of us in this picture, the wine glass, the barbecue, the people, cocktails, watermelon. What else? Watermelon, alcohol, the chef, wine glass, the barbecue, the people, happy people, cocktails, watermelon, cute, fit people, happy because they're drinking, huge smiles. Do you see how we all notice something different from this picture? The first thing that we noticed is based on the patterns that we have established in our brain a lot of the times. And you notice how we all notice something different. And it has to do with what we focus on as a general rule as we go through the day, or what we've made important to us, right? So think about that. Think about what it was that you noticed and what it is about what you are thinking about from day to day that maybe made you notice that first. So here's an example of a preparatory set for exercise. So to make it easy to include exercise in your life, write down your goal, right? This is the number one thing, write it down. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to notice? I will walk an extra half an hour a day. Then number two is you visualize it. You want to visualize yourself doing it. Picture yourself walking, if that's what it is. Picture yourself walking and enjoying it. Perhaps picture parking a few blocks away and walking the rest of the way, or getting off the bus or the subway. We don't have a lot of those in Montana, but one stop early, or walk to that nearby restaurant, art museum, whatever it is, for lunch. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. When you go, take a sandwich to a nearby park for lunch. Take the dog for a tiny bit longer walk than you normally would. Maybe go before and after work. If you picture yourself, if you do that visualization, picture yourself walking and enjoying it, And you'll soon find that you're noticing more and new and different ways you can add in walking without stressing about it. I move red dots around all day. The watermelon is red. Yeah, so I think that's why I noticed it. Interesting to think about, isn't it? So this is an example of a preparatory set. They're not hard. This is not hard. Don't overthink this. All you have to do is write it down, right? Write down what the thing is that you want to start focusing on, whatever your goal is. Write down what the thing is, and then visualize yourself doing it. How is it going to look for me to do that correctly? So if it's, for me, my goal is to not eat after dinner. So how is that going to look for me to do that? I'm going to, now that it's warmer, go outside, walk around the garden, play with my kids. Maybe do something besides read a book, because that encourages me, because I have a habit established there that I eat when I read in the evening. Maybe do something besides that for a little while. So now my brain, and I can repeat that. I can repeat it as many times as I need to. But now my brain is kind of set to notice, okay, this is what I'm focusing on, and here's some opportunities for me to do it better. So you just heard me do a preparatory set. Did you do one yourself? You don't have to do it about one of those problem things. You can pick one of your goals that you're working on, or anything else in your life. If you're buying a car, do a preparatory set for a car. Pick something and do a preparatory set. So number one, write down what it is. Take a second and write it down. So actually write it down. And then visualize what that's going to look like to do. Did you do it? See, that's the thing with these virtual meetings. I can give time, but it's up to you to actually do it, because I don't put these in here. These examples aren't in here because they're not helpful. They're in here because they are helpful. So it's worth giving it a try. It's worth giving it a try. Okay. So hopefully you did a preparatory set. Remember, you can do it as often as you need to. As often as you need to. Harness that mechanism in your brain to make your life easier. Envision the future. And I know there's been several of you that have made comments about that. Wow, I found I saw myself in the right clothes and having a smile. Whoa, cool. Yeah, like it, especially the smile part. Did you notice the smiles on the people first in the picture too? All right, so if weight is something that you're working with, maybe take out your weight chart, and hopefully the chef hat and then smiles. Yeah. Take out the weight chart and plot where you're going to be at the end of our Healthy for Life. So we are 8 weeks into the program. It does go for a year. So we'll do 16 weekly, and then we'll do 6 monthly sessions after that. So envision and plot on your weight chart where you want your weight to be. If it's weight that you're working on, if it's not weight, then do something related to what your overall goal is. Close your eyes and see what that'll feel like. I saw myself in the right clothes and having a smile, right? How will you feel? Go beyond that. Go beyond how you look. How are you going to feel? How will you look? You did that. What will be different in your life? That one's a little harder for me. What'll be different in my life? I have more confidence in myself. Yeah, because you'll have a whole year under your belt of having successes and challenges, slips to learn from. So think about how much more you're going to know and how much more confidence you're going to be able to have in yourself and your ability to solve problems and achieve your goals. None of us are perfect, but think about how much better you're going to be at it after you've been at this for a year. I'll have energy, not exhausted all the time, better coping skills. I like that. I like that a lot. Cool. All right. So once you're done there, draw it back to the food and fitness log. I'm sorry, I don't remember who put that in there, but yeah, if the food and fitness log has been a challenge, let's pick that up again together this week. Let's do it because we know, and some of us had tangible experience that shows that it is helpful to do it even on the quote unquote bad days, but we're going to try and get away from the good, bad thinking, right? So even on the days where I didn't get where I wanted to go, it's still helpful. So continue with that. Please, please, if you at all can, even if you can do it a couple of days and not the other days, don't just give up on it totally. And then remember your goals. Might be 1, might be 2, might be 3. They might be incorporated together. Maybe your goals changed a little bit during the course of the session today as we were doing a preparatory set, or we were thinking about examples of situations that challenge us. This is one of my favorite things to say in class. This is not easy. It is worth it. All of that work, all of the soul searching, all of the exploring new recipes, all of the preparatory sets are worth it. They are worth it. Think about what you envision yourself going to be like in a year. Think about that vision of yourself. Jump yourself past the work that you know is going to need to be done to what you're going to feel like. It is worth it. This very rarely in life, and this is, again, one of those uncomfortable things that we all like to deny, but it doesn't make it less true. Very rarely in life do you accomplish anything worthwhile without good old-fashioned hard work and tenacity and resiliency, right? So Calvin, lightening it up a little bit. Calvin is being thoughtful at the same time as a little bit funny. He says, why? Everything is so darn hard. I wish I could just take a pill to be perfect and I could just push a button and have anything I want. And Hobbes says, the American dream lives on. And Calvin says, why should I have to work for everything? It's like saying I don't deserve it. Right? Yes, that is right. It's so true. So funny, but so true. Remember to take some time to celebrate your successes, especially if you're having a negative thought process day. Maybe pull out the piece of paper or see if you can introduce some appreciation into your mind for yourself and all the hard work that you're doing. Take some time to celebrate your successes. Talk to someone about what you're doing and, you know, how hard you've been working. Gosh, I've been at this for 8 weeks. I've been doing a food and fitness log for 8 weeks on this. I've learned so much. You know, most of the time I enjoy it. Celebrate your successes. Think about your goals and if you met them. Think about if you worked out, if you did the exercise component that you wanted to do. Were you able to assert yourself? Were you able to talk to your social support network? Were you able to have a difficult conversation that maybe you've never had the guts to do? Have you been able to make a good choice? Like there was the example in the chat earlier of going to the picnic barbecue and all those foods that were there and the good choice that was made to say, I'm going to enjoy them, but I'm going to do it with smaller portions. That's a good choice. You've got to go, yes, yes, like I just did. Just imagine me in your head going, yes, huzzah, good job. And more importantly, do it for yourself. You say, huzzah, self, good job. Pat yourself on the back. Especially when there's something you're struggling with, it is important to focus on what you're doing well, because that gives you the energy you need, right? It builds energy in yourself. It gives that energy back. We're putting out energy constantly, constantly, constantly. So appreciating yourself, celebrating yourself, positive self-talk to yourself gives back that energy so that you can keep working towards what you want to accomplish. So this week, and how appropriate is this? Anybody else have Johnny jump ups? Anybody else garden like I do? These little flowers are all over my garden right now. And I just love their happy little purple faces. I pull them up before they go to seedless. I try to. Obviously, I don't succeed in that because then I get more. But this week, do what you've decided to do to meet your goals. Print another week for the food and fitness log. Remember that gardening is being active. Yes. Record. And then if you need to print anything out, if you're keeping a physical food and fitness log, if there's some things that you want to write down based on the session today, make sure and do all of that. And if you have any comments, questions, ideas, put them in the chat box, and I'm going to read you Calvin. No snow. Which means I won't be tempted to paste anyone with a snowball, which means I'll be good, which means I'll get lots of Christmas presents hot. And then it starts snowing. Nothing in life is ever easy. Feels like that a lot. And it says, Hobbes says, look at all this snow. Calvin says, I'm being tested. We got this snow, so I'd be tempted to smack Susie with a slush ball and forfeit all my Christmas presents. To evaluate my character, my immediate pleasure is being pitted against my future greed. Calvin says, poor Susie. Calvin says, it's not a foregone conclusion. And it's not, especially if you use those, all of these tools. You know, you got encouragement, step outside your box. Remember that slips are required in order for you to get better at it, to become a more experienced life navigator. If you slip, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, especially when you come back and you say, okay, what happened there and how can I do it better? And then you try it, and then you try it. Just like a toddler learning to walk. Get up, try again. Get up, try again. Okay, that didn't work. Let's get up, let's try again. It's not unexpected. It's part of the learning process. So it is not a foregone conclusion. I know to avoid the baked goods sections in the grocery stores. Unfortunately, all of them have now added that to the fresh produce. I have to make myself look down and keep going. Think of a preparatory set for that situation, right? Think of a preparatory set as to what you want to focus on when you are in the grocery store. What you want to focus on when you're in the grocery store. You want to focus on the produce, right? Think about what the produce is going to look like. Think about what you're going to put in your cart, what you want to make. Think about your grocery list, what's on your grocery list. Yep, you can do a preparatory set for that if you want to. See how it goes. Try that and tell me if it works. And yeah, that's because of a slip probably that you know you have to avoid the baked goods section, right? So your preparatory set is work to identify baked goods, right? To focus on them to this point. So let's do a preparatory set and get your mind to focus on other things if you can. Yes, good. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoy your week. Please reach out if you'd like to set up health coaching, want to talk through a plateau, have any questions about anything at all. And we will talk to you next week. Stay cool out there, everyone.